side of the argument is that being pretty actually doesn't just come with privilege, it comes with risk, or it comes with danger, or it comes with harassment. If you are pretty, you're more likely to be harassed. You're more likely to have a horn blasted at you on the street. You're more likely to get catcalled. If you are pretty, you're more likely to get raped, according to statistics. Which, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because who is defining whether someone is pretty or not? I think that's more likely down to age.
But fake news. Sorry, I'm quite strongly saying that, but what?
It was on one of the articles I read, but anyway.
Yeah, how do you objectively measure someone's pretty anyway? Like, who's doing that? Anyway, go on, continue.
If you're pretty, you're more likely to be seen as arrogant or stuck up. If you're pretty, in some cases, you're more likely to be seen as stupid, dumb. So,
it can overtake your character.
Yes, in both ways it overtakes your character, but in one way it's a privilege and in another way it's a risk. And I think that's my view on this whole thing is everything has pros and cons and you can't just focus on one without the other. No,
I definitely agree. I think, taking it back to the kind of single days as a male, all the anxiety that you kind of feel when you're trying to find a partner and, I guess, establish yourself. I think some males are very attached to the ideal behind having a trophy wife.
100%.
Someone that everyone else wants. So I think some people are really focused on attractive women or women seen as attractive and kind of really putting them on this pedestal and assuming everything's fine because I guess from a societal perspective, men do all the chasing and it's hard getting knocked back, and you're also trying to at the same time strive to have this trophy wife. Some people, alongside all the other things you're trying to have as a status symbol. So as a man, you're trying to maybe earn a lot of money, or you're trying to be a sports guy. So it kind of, I think that's where the kind of focus around pretty privilege comes from. I do think it comes from a male kind of school of thought, and you have these people called incels who they hate
pretty girls, don't they? Because they feel like they're turned down by attractive women, or that's why they haven't progressed in their desire for relations.
Yeah, exactly. They feel entitled, So I think society's kind of enabled that kind of school of thought. And when I went to Santa Barbara University in 2014, like literally there was an incel called Elliot.
He was a self-proclaimed incel?
He was an incel. I don't think he was a self-proclaimed one, but he was an incel. That was the first time I kind of heard of it. But literally 2 weeks after I left that campus, that's when he had his rampage. That was literally the first time I heard about what an incel was. And look, in school I wasn't popular and stuff. Some people might say I was, but yeah, I wasn't popular and stuff. But never did this kind of entitlement kind of cross my mind. And it's not like I had to be taught that. I just kind of knew. I don't know, man. I don't know where that comes from. I'm not even going to go into incels too deeply, but I think sometimes maybe when things have gone well in other areas of your life, it's kind of like, let me just complete the puzzle,
Well, I think with incels it's also they tend to have groups, right? They have a lot of forums where it's just them talking and supporting each other because they feel
the same. They feel wounded.
The same, and sometimes in a group people can be spurred on to do stuff they wouldn't do on their own. Do you know what I mean? It gives people a sense of false courage almost, which is why I think a lot of the incel rampages that have happened. But anyway, that's another story for another day.
Yeah, it does link in though, because it's a specific kind of anti-pretty privilege group, and it's mainly directed at women. I don't know if there's a female incel group that dislike handsome men, feel entitled to them in the same way. I don't really think so. I think that's just as a product of society where women don't necessarily champion a man's looks as much as say his status. And I'm not saying all women, but a lot. You know what I'm saying? What job do you have and how are you seen in society, which ties into all different narratives anyway. So, you know, in terms of internet dating, for example, there are certain groups of men that get the most messages but reply the least, and there's certain types of women who get the most messages but reply the least, you know, so kind of status and attractiveness is all
the privilege definitely comes into internet dating, I think, because a lot of it is based on your picture. That's it. Sorry, I just blocked the camera. That's all you have to go off. I know people write a profile and stuff, but people are just looking at the picture, right? Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to hear, I guess, from a female perspective, what internet dating's like, because I mean, you know, in my brief 2 weeks on a Plenty of Fish site, I saw women with like minimal bios, like one line, but I saw men that had to really describe and sculpt.
Well, maybe
who they
that's
were.
pretty privilege as well, because women think they, like, based on their picture, that's it. They don't need to explain anything, and maybe men just go for that. Like, they don't want all the blurb; they just want the picture.
I mean, men will write the story themselves. They'll see you, you know, this music starts playing in their head, and it's. But don't they know that women fart too? You know. Well, sorry, I revealed the secret. But the point is, yeah, men will make up their own story, and maybe this is going into the difference between
men and
women, and you know how they feel in terms of first impressions. But men will literally fall in love with you and probably marry you after 5 minutes of meeting you, if that will help them attain their goal of having you by the side, you know, and obviously trying to hit a home run, whereas women are a bit more measured. Yes, they'll measure the attractiveness of someone, but the character and how safe they feel, for example, talking or being around you, is actually very important as well. And I think that's a societal thing, because we know that obviously women are not as strong physically, so they have to always have that in the back of their mind too. You know, there's a lot of danger associated with dating, I guess, and especially for women, whereas men, you know, it's not the same thing. So maybe that informs how far you're willing to go as a guy, having just met a woman, versus a woman's cautiousness and looking at the whole picture.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Especially if you're someone that gets harassed a lot. And I say harassed, I mean, sometimes, look, there's nothing wrong with a male approaching, saying hello, being polite, and if you want to talk, great. If you don't want to talk, then that should just be it. People shouldn't get angry and start hurling insults. So I won't say harassed, but approached. If you're someone that gets approached a lot, then maybe you're kind of very apprehensive of it, you know, because it's just like, just leave me alone. And that is, I do think that's an aspect of, if someone is pretty and maybe gets more attention, they are kind of just like, oh, please, just, you know, just want to drink my coffee in peace, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think, you know, in terms of my personal perspective on how important, you know, the physical is, it's obviously important that you're attracted to the person that you're with. But I guess the reasons are very important as well. I mean, do you like someone just because everybody else likes somebody? Do you like someone just because Hollywood and Instagram says, you know, that's what you should go for? I mean, I'm a mature guy most of the time. And, you know, the mature guy approach is, don't make up a narrative in your head about what this woman is. I mean, in my case, because I like women. Just, you know, let things develop organically, and let their personality come through and their character. And if nothing comes of it, so what? So you kind of sit back. You don't allow the trailer of the movie to suck you in. You know what I mean? And then you're in there assuming you know how it's going to end. And,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's a lot of people's problem.
Just treat everyone with respect. Just be courteous to everyone. Just be friendly to everyone. Like, isn't that a lot easier than sort of picking and choosing? And this is not, I guess Paris is talking more on a one-on-one. You're approaching a lady or man and seeing where things go. I just mean, like, if someone comes into a shop and you're serving them, the stats are saying you're more likely to give good customer service if they look a certain way. Why not just give everyone good customer service? Unless they're a knob, fine. But I don't think you should sort of pick and choose customer service depending on what someone looks like, or pick and choose progression in a career depending on what someone looks like. It should be on merit, it should be on character, and that's it. I find it really sad that we judge people aesthetically as opposed to who they are, you know?
I wish these dating sites could display character, but that's why I wasn't on a dating site for a long time, because I like to meet you personally and get your vibe, and things aren't misunderstood, and things aren't as sculpted. I mean, that's how we met in real life, do you know what I mean? And I always knew if I'm going to meet anybody, it's going to be in real life, because it's just, you need the whole picture, you need the whole picture of somebody, and some things are even unspoken in terms of your vibe and your attraction and your connection. You can get that online, and lots of people have long distance online relationships, then they meet later. But primarily speaking, just the extra human things about interaction, the body language, for example, and things like that. It's better to get that in person. So yeah, what I was going to say, so I would like to say I'm a mature person, when I want to be, and in terms of how pretty privilege has played into choosing a partner, in terms of how looks fit into choosing a partner, at the end of the day, what you really need is someone who calms your mind, in my opinion. So I think, if you're going to sacrifice things like character for looks, then you're going to learn very quickly that it's not worth it, basically. And I think a lot of men would, as I say, write that story, let the music start playing just because of how somebody looks. It does wear thin, because you need someone that's going to try and calm your mind, look after your soul, see you for who you really are, and make you feel comfortable.
Well, those should definitely be the priorities, but I guess it's tricky because when you first meet someone or approach someone or you're interested, it is generally what they look like that's going to interest you first off, right? Or it's generally how you see them interacting with other people. You're not going to be able to know those things straight off the bat, are you? So you do need to make a little investment, but time-wise.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I remember when everybody was hyping about Dozier Cat, and I was like, oh, this is an attractive singer, basically the type of music artist you were talking about. But when they started showing me all of that stuff she was saying, those chat rooms, it's never crossed my mind.
Oh, you mean all the racist stuff?
Yeah, which was saying all that racist stuff, basically. That it put me right off. Because it's not like I'm going to click the video. I'm not drawn to click the video, basically, to enjoy the aesthetic of the artist at the end of the day, because music artists are products, and they are obviously taken in as a whole. People like Stormzy because he's 6'5" and dark skin. He's named after bad weather. So people are like, I want to see that guy live. And then obviously you've got women that look a certain way as well. So it's a bonus if somebody can sing and they also look. It just, people assume it's like you eat with your eyes before you eat with your mouth. So
yeah.
So I think that's why. But yeah, that's just one example, I guess, of a celebrity that just on the surface you're like, oh, this is someone that's attractive. But then when you hear them open their mouth, it's just, it's a wrap. And it can happen with guys, I'm sure. Like, oh, this is a handsome guy, and then suddenly he says, you, get in the kitchen. And then a lot of women, no likey, no lighty. They don't want a man that's going to tell them that. Most of them anyway, they'll say it on the surface. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider. And I've really found that, that's a big thing, kind of character and vibe, and also how do you treat other people. Don't be blinded and blindsided by somebody's physical. You know, because
don't let it sort of cancel out their values. You know, like if you see someone treating someone poorly and they're beautiful, like just because they're beautiful doesn't mean they're a good person. Like a beautiful person might on the outside might not be a nice person on the inside, or they might be not. Like it's down to the individual, and this is why I hate all these collective things. I think someone can be pretty and be a nice person, or someone can be not stereotypically handsome or pretty and be a nasty person. Like, I mean, you just can't. Not everyone is the same or meets this criteria, and that's why I'm quite happy there's sort of two schools of thought on this, because yes, that pretty privilege does exist, but yes, there are also cons to being seen as pretty or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. It's very, and I agree with you completely. There's definitely cons, and I think men especially don't hear about the cons or don't pay attention to the cons because they're probably not asking women these questions because they're, you know, mesmerized by their beauty, and they're not scratching beneath the surface.
And it's not just men. Like in school, sometimes pretty girls are the mean girls in the cliques, and who kind of are the most popular. Sometimes pretty girls are the ones that are bullied by other girls because they feel like, oh, all the guys like you, so we're gonna, you know,
ostracize
knock you down to size. Yeah, exactly. So again, it just, depending on the environment, the people, it's not clear cut, you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all. And you know, I mean, when me and Selina were out, like I've had, especially girls, you know, they're very vocal in saying, "Hey, you lucky man," you know, these kind of things. And I wouldn't say that's a result of. It's nice to get those kind of compliments for yourself. Do you know what I mean? From strangers. But what it kind of you know. It does show that I guess I'm suddenly a lucky man. They've just seen Selina, they don't know her from Adam, and I'm lucky, but they don't know behind the closed doors. You know what I mean? You know what's really going on. So yeah, I guess it goes both ways in terms of women and men assuming, you know, that pretty women are hard to keep hold of and to get commitment from. You know.
Yeah, true. Never thought of it that way.
You know, you better hold your weight, otherwise that's it, you know, that's done. And I think some women as well, when they're younger, so teenagers, maybe 17, you know, maybe don't know much better, but they'll just be trying to leverage their prettiness for the best situation. So the guy with the crap personality, but he's a upcoming footballer, versus the guy with the nice personality and the looks, but he doesn't have as much. You know, oftentimes people do use it to access social circles. You know, so the equivalent of the top of the tree is a rich man. The equivalent of the top of the tree is a amazingly beautiful woman. You know, and these people seem to go together like birds of a feather, apparently. But you know, the reality is deeper than that. Away from Instagram, the reality is deeper than that.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe not much.
Yeah, because my whole thing about, say, for example, the modelling industry, like I don't necessarily agree that 6 foot tall, kind of boyish shaped women are the most beautiful in the world. But there's a whole industry that's willing to pay you if you look like that. So I don't blame the models for capitalizing on that and getting money out of it.
Well, beauty is relative as well, depending on what industry you're in, what country you're in. I know sort of globalization has kind of blurred a few lines, like as we were talking about, you know, different types of bodies and that kind of thing, and looking more tanned and all that kind of stuff. But if you go to different areas of the world, like, you know, in certain areas of India, if you're fairer skinned, you'll be seen more beautiful than a darker skinned Indian lady. Or
even though you might not be, you might actually be, objectively speaking, not as attractive, but it's just your skin colour somehow that people
so there are layers to it. I don't think pretty privilege is like mutually exclusive to just being seen as this stereotype of beauty, because other aspects come into it, whether it's what your body looks like, your skin color, your hair. It could be, you know, I mean, like this whole thing about lips now, the lips trend, freckles, your eyes. You know, some people think that having bigger eyes is beautiful in some countries if you have thinner eyes, smaller eyes. People having surgery to have bigger eyes, like it's just cheekbones. People have dimples put in. It's crazy. So yeah, beauty is relative, and it's crazy what people do to meet whatever stereotype of beauty is present in their country.
Yeah, 100% what you're saying is true. They've done studies about different countries and what different countries see as pretty, generally speaking. But, you know, there's always an exception to the rule. And, you know, for everyone out there, like, you were born a certain way for a certain reason, and never let anybody else kind of project their feelings on you. What the heck, especially your peers. If you're a teenager, what do they know? They don't know anything. You've got time to grow into your features. I mean, when I was growing up, the girls would always say, look at your eyebrows, they're bushy. You know, they're bushy.
Well, I think they're saying girls would be dying for your eyebrows right now.
Yeah, I've heard a couple, you know,
my
women.
mum even likes your eyebrows.
Yeah, big up Mumsy. Yeah, she does. Yeah, she's like, she likes my eyebrows, and you know, I remember like my colleague at work said she loves them, but way back when, I was told that, you know, they're bushy. Yeah, you know what I mean. And I think it's very much in your formative years. That's when you kind of level up. You kind of get that, you know, self-awareness about how you're viewed within society. Like for a girl, it's about what kind of guys approach you. You know, that kind of, for some women, gives them
or how many.
Yeah, how many, yeah. And that for some women gives them kind of their bearing and their standing.
Yeah. And makes them feel superior to other women, which again comes down to pretty privilege, you know, how people see you, but also how you see yourself as being prettier or, you know, more superior based on what you look like, which really sucks. Again, like, why are you defining yourself based on how you look?